Good morning, good morning. How are you all? My name is Kimberly Didelowitz, and I just wanted to say good morning and welcome to our live broadcast with Spouses Selling Houses. And before Rita introduces our wonderful guest speakers today, I just wanted to say hello and welcome, and thank you so much for your continued business at Champion School of Real Estate. We love you, we're thankful for you, and we are just so excited to have you guys here listening live today to a great broadcast. If you all could take out a pen, if you have something to write with, I've got two exciting things for you guys to capture. We have coming up August the 22nd is our next quarterly update. Raise your hands out there if you've already attended one of Rita Santamaria's quarterly updates. Curious by show of hands. Wonderful, I see some out there. She is so excited to be presenting our third quarter industry update that she will be discussing current real estate trends and the current news out there in the real estate world. So mark your calendars, August the 22nd from 9:30 a.m. until 10:15 a.m. And of course, this is free to all of our Champion students. So we look forward to seeing you on August the 22nd. Secondly, we have a fun June social media contest happening that we will be giving out a $99 gift certificate to the winner of our social media contest. And if you can, write down this special link to enter to win our June social media contest. And I'm going to spell it out. It's bit.ly/CSRE June 17. And if you didn't get that, just know that after today's live broadcast, we're going to send out some updated notes, and I'll include that link for you guys so you can enter to win a $99 gift certificate. So thank you all so much. You're in for a treat. Thank you for your business. And I'm going to say goodbye and have a wonderful day. Thank you for choosing to be a champion. And I'm going to turn it over to our owner and founder, Rita Santamaria. Good morning, Rita.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. I am so happy to say hello to everyone today and to welcome you to our wonderful June Spouses Selling Houses interview. And, in the classroom, when we talk to the students, we tell them about a career in real estate, and we tell them how to get started and how exciting real estate is and all of the actual steps involved to being successful. But I know as a longtime teacher that you really enjoy hearing it from those that are doing it every day, that are literally out there in the trenches making it happen. And with that being said, I always enjoy bringing experienced agents and then new agents in and interviewing them for you, so that you get inspired and motivated by all of our wonderful Champions alumni. And when I had the interview 2 months ago with the brand new agent and the longtime experienced agent, I had told everyone about the fact that in June we were doing Spouses Selling Houses, because so many couples go into real estate together, and the question comes up in the classroom, well, if I go into real estate with my spouse, how does that work? I mean, do you have any idea? Have you talked to people that do that? And how do they make real estate, living together, working together, come together? So I had invited, again, longtime agents, my wonderful friends Nancy and Ruben Villarreals.
Thank you, Rita.
Thank you.
I have known them for over 20 years, and I've known them and their family as they have built their business to Remax Integrity. It is just a wonderful Remax office in the north part of Houston. And the office itself was recognized by Houston Business Journal in the top 25 teams in Houston. This is the most recent Houston Business Journal this year, 2017. And in fact, Ruben and Nancy are on the front cover right down here. I'm so proud of them and their team. They also recently were in the Remax Circle of Legends Recognition Award, which means you're creme de la creme. And Ruben started out in the business, and in '93, Nancy joined him. And I can remember when your dad came on board and taught your dad, and then they continued adding to their team, and their 20 plus years of experience is huge. I also invited Royal and Ryan Jockers. This morning on my way here, I got a very sad and emotional phone call from Royal, and she actually asked me to tell everyone the reason they cannot be here today is last night there was a tragic loss in her family. The passing of her brother from a motorcycle accident. And she actually asked me to tell everyone that and to keep them in their prayers, your prayers and thoughts. And I told her without question, we understand why they are not here. We certainly give them our heartfelt sympathy. And she said, please invite us back. I am inviting them back in the fall without question. They are very dynamic. And as we get together this morning and talk to Ruben and Nancy, there will be just a couple of items that Royal had sent over to me preparing for our time together today. And I'll just give you some ideas, very quick ideas of how they work together as a team, husband and wife. But having known Ruben and Nancy for such a long time and their dynamic team and their wonderful reputation, professional reputation in real estate, I knew that they have so much information that they can give us that we're in great hands today, and you will learn so much. So get your pens, pencils out, get ready to make notes on your computer, because I'm going to start right out with, how did you make the decision to start into real estate as a career? Was there a defining moment?
Actually, at the time, I was in retail. I worked for the Men's Warehouse, and Nancy's stepmother was in real estate, and she was a Remax agent. And Nancy's father kept telling me, you know, Ruben, you need to get into real estate. You need to get into real estate. So I started taking the classes at Champions, and I did it as I was working. And when I finished the classes, I started part-time in the business. Nancy's dad said, you need to quit your job. You're doing better in real estate. You need to quit your job. And he kept pushing me to do it.
You really listened to your father-in-law.
Oh, yeah. And he kept saying,
Small
you know.
man with lots to say.
Yeah, he loves to say. And he kept saying, you know, Ruben, don't worry. You know, if anything happens, I'm here to back you up. At the time, we were newly married. This was, granted, 27 years ago. We've been married 30 years. But, you know, we were a young family, and we had a $400 house payment. It was a lot, you know. So we had a lot of bills to pay, and I was a little nervous about quitting my job.
Sure.
Nancy had a great job. She was a legal secretary at the time, or paralegal, and I said, okay, I'm going to quit. So I quit my job at the Men's Warehouse, which I was doing really good.
Huge decision.
Went into real estate full time, and right when I got into real estate, her dad was diagnosed with cancer, and so he got sick, and it was a very quick terminal illness.
His goal was to buy houses,
was to
flip
flip
them. He wanted to fix them up, put around. He had retired.
Okay.
Right. So he was like, Ruben, we're going to buy and flip. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And he's like, I've got these plans. And then when all this happened, he was like, you need to get to work. Forget about everything I said. Just start working.
Wow.
So I had no choice. I mean, I was either going to sink or swim or go back to retail or whatever I was doing. So I decided to just get motivated and start doing what I like. And I loved it when I got into it. Granted, when I got into the business, interest rates were just at 11%, so I was excited because they had dropped from like 15 to 11%. So I didn't know any better. I mean, I'm
Right.
writing contracts on the hoods of cars, and so I didn't. I just got into got going, and I didn't know any better. I never I'm not one to really read the newspaper or to watch the news and hear the negative stuff. And so I just I was like, hey, interest rates. I remember at Champions, all they talked about was rates have gone down. Rates have gone down. They were 11%, and so we went forward.
When people talk about, do you think interest rates are going to go up?
I laugh.
And you come from the experience of a 15% rate is really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
And as you said, man, they had come down to 11%.
Right.
So let's go write offers.
Well, now
at
people
4.
worry about that. I
Right.
mean,
They
people
do.
go,
They're
let's
almost
hope they
5,
go
yeah.
up a 0.5%, so people get off the fence post to 4.5 or 5.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's truly almost like free money.
It is.
So your father-in-law said, new opportunity, why don't you try it? And you just jumped in.
I jumped
now,
in
when
and
you
just
say
did.
jump in, what did you really do to jump in? Do you remember what you did to start out? How you found people and customers?
Basically, what I did, I worked for the Men's Warehouse for 7 years. Well, yeah, about 6 or 7 years.
That's
I
why you're
had a
always
very
so
good-
stylish.
I had a very good clientele that would come back and see me. So the first thing I did is, in some of your classes, y'all would talk about getting your list together, getting your sphere together. So that was my sphere, was my client base for the Men's Warehouse, and that's what I started with,
Awesome.
was getting
Yeah.
my sphere together.
Sphere of influence.
And I just started marketing to those people. Even when I was doing it part time, people would come in and go, "Hey, we got a card, you're doing real estate too," and we'd kind of we'd start building our business off of that. When I quit my job and did it full time, I mean, I did nothing but 100% work with my sphere of influence. And at the time, we didn't have money to farm or network, spend a lot of money farming and things
So
like
how
that.
did you do it without a lot of money?
At the time when I was a brand new agent, it was a joke in the office because all I did was for sale by owners. And I would get a for sale by owner and I'd bring the sign off their yard. And,
I'm sure.
do you remember? I used to line them up
That's
against the
tough.
wall, and that's all I
You used to say,
did.
at least I know they want to sell.
Yeah, I mean, I knew they were motivated
So,
to
yeah,
sell.
They would print out
Raise.
every form there was that you could possibly need to go in real estate. He'd had me package them together at the time, and he'd go and show up on their doorstep with them.
Wow.
I'd scare them basically and say, hey, in case you get an offer, first I'd just go look at the house, try to meet with them, and then I'd come back again and I'd bring them the packet that she would prepare that, was just all the contracts, all the disclosures and all this stuff. And I'd say, don't forget, you have to have all these disclosures filled out. And
So were you
scare
doing
them.
that to maybe scare them a little bit? That they
Absolutely.
needed an agent.
Absolutely.
Right.
And almost
Explain
always
the
they were
importance
list.
of why you need an agent.
Right.
And that is exactly the other side of that is you do need an agent because there are a lot of forms
There's a lot of
that you
legalities.
don't know about that can get you in trouble. And when we talk to new people about, well, here's another area you can really think about to get new business, and that's calling on people that have expired listings or foreclosures.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, no, I want a normal sale. So this is perfect to say that this very dynamic, experienced superstar started out that direction.
I still do it. I still call them
You
for
still
full
do
owners.
it.
Absolutely. And my team still does it. If
the
you
basics
recall,
of
when we
real
first got in the business back then, we could use the big book.
Yeah.
And or literally, when I first joined my first broker, they sat you in front of that book and you just started calling numbers. Do you
Tell
remember
them
that?
what the book is.
It was called I don't even know what it was called.
MLS
No,
book.
not that
No,
MLS
the
book. That had all the cross references.
Oh, the cross. Yes.
What was it called?
Just
Crisscross.
Crisscross, yeah.
directory.
And so that was a
Okay.
big, thick book that your
Yes,
brokers
yes.
carried, and they would
Yeah.
set you down in a room, and you
Yeah.
just all started
Parties, and
calling.
you just started
Well, we'd have-
dialing for dollars.
Right, we'd have pizza parties and call it dollar
And
for
now
dollars.
it's an crisscross directory
Right.
that you can get online or an app.
Absolutely.
But yes,
A lot
it was
easier
the
nowadays.
crisscross book. And there would be like a little flag if you were out in an office in the bullpen and everybody knew where the crisscross directory
Absolutely.
That's exactly
That's the way
right.
it was back then, and that's basically how I did it. Is just
Uh,
for sale by owners and cold calling. At the beginning, that's how I started it. I didn't have money to
Sale
advertise or
by
market.
owners and cold calling. So the takeaway point is, for those of you that are worried about having to spend a lot of money, is time.
Lots of time.
And follow through and persistence. So at what point did Nancy know that she was ready to come into the business with you?
Well, I was pregnant with my daughter, and I was at a paralegal, so I worked in town. He worked a lot of nights, So we really never saw each other. So I got to the point of either we're never going to see each other, or I was going to join the business and we were going to work together. So that was, we made the
Wow.
decision just to kind of a leap of faith to do it, and it's worked out.
So
We've
how
been
did
very
you get
blessed.
started? What role did you play?
When I first came in, I worked primarily as an assistant to Ruben, trying to keep him organized. I had a lot more organizational skills being a paralegal than he did, so
That was
I would
lucky for you.
try to keep him organized
Uh-huh.
more so. And then as we went through and started building, he would do a lot of the buyer side, and I would do more of the listing side, or we would go out a lot together depending on where we were going or what we were doing. But that's how, I mean, we started off, there's a few knocks along the way, obviously, but then we decided if you just define what each one of us were going to do and stick by those rules and guidelines, it made it a lot easier. So that's
So
sort of what we
you
did.
truly sat down and made a list and had guidelines.
Absolutely.
Nancy's particular task, Ruben's task, and you stuck to those guidelines.
We still do that today.
And still do that today.
Absolutely.
Well, I want to put into the discussion what Royal Jocker sent over to me. She said the key to our success is putting God number one and treating all of our clients like family. We've set up our team process to highlight our strengths. Ryan does listing appointments, showings, closings, inspections, house servicing, house runs, and open houses. All the face-to-face interaction is what Ryan Jocker does. And then Royal writes the contract. She's like the transaction specialist for them
Coordinator.
and helps get everything through escrow. She also handles all the marketing and does all of the email correspondence, text correspondence. And then she said exactly, and that's what made me think to read what she sent over, because she said, we do not duplicate each other's efforts.
That's very important when you work with your
Yeah,
husband.
and I did want to also let you know they are with the Gary Green Better Homes and Gardens office on Louetta in North Houston. I don't think I mentioned that at the beginning, and I wanted to make sure that they know that I certainly acknowledged what a great job they've done in a year and a half, and that's why we wanted to have them here today. So, at what point did either of you or both of you know that you had made it? That you now sort of have the key? That you don't, or let me ask the question, do you still worry about sales, and will there be
Every
a
month.
sale? Okay.
Every month I worry about it. That's just my personality.
That's sort of a joke we have, is
Uh-huh.
the first of every month he worries about what's going to, it's almost 15th and I don't have anything, enough going. Or the 15th, it's almost the 1st. It's always been that way. We're huge goal setters. Ruben is one of the very huge goal setter on. He cuts out a goal. He has to see it, focus on it, and then we break them all the way down. So
And I look at it every week,
you
every
always
month.
worry, because when you don't worry about your business, I think people become
You
lackadaisical.
can't take it for granted.
And
You've got it.
I mean, you have to stay up with
You've
it.
got it. So what they moved into is what we talked about with Nimesh Patel last month and Jennifer, in that goal setting helps get rid of that fear that you have as an independent contractor.
Right.
So give us some information then. And by the way, they also still have fears. It's part of being an entrepreneur
It's part of
and
just
being
being self-employed. Absolutely.
Yes.
And you basically own your own business, so you have
I
to be.
think fear is a motivator too. I mean, to
Fear is a big
me,
motivator.
there is a lot of motivation in the fear of
It is.
just to keep going.
It gets you suited up every day knowing you have to go after it, because nobody's going to do it for you. It's you
Well, even with our
yourself.
team, we sit down with the team members and we set a goal and we break it down to
How many team members do you have?
We have 5 buyer's agents
Uh-huh.
that have been with us on an average of 5 years to 19 years.
Okay.
And
Wow.
then,
long time.
Ray's going to be 19 years.
Right.
You know Ray. And then we have 1 licensed assistant that's our personal assistant, that is my assistant. Nancy pretty much runs the office now. And so my personal assistant is licensed also.
Wonderful. So to go from Ruben's father-in-law telling him this is what you need to do, to bringing Nancy in, and now there is this full, large, very well-known team. I mean, first of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
You're doing the American dream of entrepreneurship for real estate.
Right.
Certainly, being an owner of your own company is huge. And then you brought the team in. But let's go back to the goal setting for a little bit, and then I want to go into the team and how you decided when it was time to start your team. But Nancy mentioned goal setting. Has it always been part of your nature, Ruben, Nancy? And do you have a business plan? Do you share it with your team?
Absolutely.
Talk about
I share with my
that for a
team. I
little
share
bit.
with my agents in the office. Many of them will come in and say, how do you do it? What do you do? And we sit down with them and we'll do one-on-one with them, and we want them to succeed. We want our team members to succeed. That I think would be one of the biggest things that we've kept our team for such a long time, is that we make it good for them.
We treat them like family.
We treat them like family, but we do positive things.
You bring
for
them into the
when they make
labor.
their goals. I mean, we just got back from Cancun. We took 12 people to Cancun. Their husbands, everybody,
Wow.
because so many of them made their goals that we
Impressive.
took the whole team. We do things like that to keep them on our team, obviously, to keep them feeling like they're enjoying it, but then they also are learning from it. They're growing from, being a 2-year agent that made $30,000 a year to making $150,000, $200,000 as a buyer's agent or as a licensed assistant. So they see those numbers and they feel good about them, and they're not spending near as much money marketing themselves.
But you didn't have to take them to Cancun.
No, we didn't have to, but we
And
like
yet
that too.
that show.
We enjoy trips.
I know. I
You have
follow
to-
you on your trips.
I know you did.
You have to treat people, and everybody likes to have their back patted. Everybody, we wouldn't be as successful as we've been blessed to be if it wasn't for our teams.
Right.
And same with our agents. I'm constantly saying you're only as good as your agents you have work for you, or your staff that you have work for you. So we believe that if you treat people right, they treat you right back.
Well, I brought this forward because we can always say that we should treat people well, we should show appreciation. But what I love is that you all demonstrated with exactly showing them by taking them on a very nice vacation.
Right.
So at the minimum, we absolutely know, and that's why I always say to our customers as well, thank you for your business. Without your business, we know we truly don't have one. You say it, but you like to demonstrate it.
Right.
We demonstrate it with free donuts, coffee, bagels, coffee all day long. We get lunch sponsors in. We have the career fairs. It goes a long way when you demonstrate it.
Right.
And then, as you know, again, it just makes people want to be part of your success
Right.
when they feel as though they are appreciated. So good for you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Very smart.
Thank you.
Very smart.
We've been very blessed by it.
And so when you are like wondering about next month and how many sales do we have in the pipeline, you go back to your goals and you refer to them and you see how far we've come and how are we going to get to next month and that kind of.
As we grew, well, at the very beginning, I was probably in the business 2 years, I think. A class had come that I think you guys all highly recommended at the time. It was called Sweat Hogs back in the day.
Sweat hogs,
And
way
With
back.
men.
Basically, it was just a system that they taught you what to do, which was
Uh-huh.
back then it was the cold calling, the physicals, and all that. So they all, that's how I got started, was getting a system down and doing it and making myself do it. Now, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, we hired a coach, maybe 10 years ago actually, we hired a coach, and we still do what our coach recommends. We still do our mentor meetings, we still do our coaching sessions, but we instill that into our team. So just this week, people on my team were going, does it seem slower to you? Does things, and I'm like, because we were so busy last month we had a great month, but we get busy, we forget to do our handwritten notes, we forget to do our phone calls, we forget to do the things that are part of our goal setting. And of course, Nancy's the first one to correct all of us, and she's like, so when was the last time you did your goals? When was the last time you looked at your handwritten notes? And so then, of course, all of us immediately start getting our stuff ready for July 4th and our pop buys and start making our phone calls, and immediately you start seeing something happen. So yes, we do look at our goals every day, and we do consider our past year's goals and things that we can we can reach it from, or achieve the next goal from what we did the year before. And it seems, I think obviously every year from day one, we've always gotten bigger and bigger, or the numbers have grown for one reason or another. So, and she's very good at keeping us on
I think you have to
track.
break your goals down. I mean,
Right.
people can say, oh, I want to make $100,000, but they have to know how to achieve the goal. So we sit down and we break it down to, okay, so that's X amount of dollars per month, X amount of dollars per
I
week.
love it that you do that.
You know,
But
how
you
many
have to know
houses,
how to get to those.
what's your average
Yeah, how many
sales
open houses
price,
do you have to do?
how many phone calls does it take?
Okay, you're really smart and nice because it's a lead into my 30 days to success. Because the very first chapter is your financial goals, and it truly is talking about how many people do you need to see,
How many contacts?
meet, how many contacts.
We have that broken down.
And literally, as you said, Nancy, so many people say, oh, I want to make whatever, $100,000, as you said. And yes, that's achievable. How are you going to get there? And so breaking it down
And that's
into
the part most
context.
people
Mhm.
don't figure out, or I find now, is they know what they want to make, and they have an idea based, they'll take, well, my average sales price, I need to sell X amount of houses, but that's as far as they take it. So I mean, we have some of our team members that'll tell you, we used to put up a calendar, and we would break it down to the point they would draw little houses, and as they would sell or close one, they would mark it off, so it was visible,
Love
so they could see it.
Okay, repeat that to that smiley face and tell them one more time how
When
you
you
do
break
that.
down your goals, you break them down, and then you have to have a visual on it. So we would literally draw little houses, and if the goal was you had to sell 5 that month, as you either sold a listing or a buyer, you would cross it off. So if you only sold 3 that month, you would have to add 2 to the following month in order to know where you were on your goals. So if you were behind, you knew you had to pick up the phone and make more phone calls or do some more handwritten notes.
Exactly.
You know, we're huge, our whole office is huge with Brian Buffini. And, there's a lot of good speakers out there. There's a lot
He's
of
a
programs.
great coach.
It's a great coach.
And I tell people, find a program. It doesn't have to be Buffini, just something that, because they're basically
We
all the
even
same.
offer and have offered from time to time. He's used one of our classrooms to have a coaching when he's in town
Excellent.
for agents, because no matter who it is, no matter where you go and you get education, that's nothing but help.
Right. And we've always been good, and even today, we go to every free education. We're going to one tomorrow downtown that my daughter is doing, sponsoring, and it's on actual appraisals, because we've been having appraisal issues lately.
Perfect.
And we want to get tips on
There
what
you
to do
go.
with our listings. We had a couple of listings this month that didn't appraise that had 5 offers on them.
Isn't that crazy?
And so we're going to listen to that. And my whole team's actually going tomorrow. We're making a lunch out of it
Smart.
and going to the class. Education is very important, and continuing to learn what's going on.
Staying up with today's market. I mean, what today's market is and what last year's market, or much less 10 years ago market, if you don't stay up on it, then you can't
Then you're
compete
out
with
of the
it.
loop.
You're out of the loop.
And
Absolutely.
I was going to follow up on what Ruben said, because right now we are hearing more and more that appraisals aren't happening where they
It's been
need to
crazy.
be. And if you don't go and take
You
advantage
have to know
of
what
what's
to do.
happening in our market today, you're like, well, why is it just me?
Right.
What's wrong with my CMA? But to take your whole team and get a wonderful seminar, anything that has other information that helps you make money, keeps you up to date, makes you credible with your customers.
Absolutely.
It's no
Right.
wonder you stay successful.
If you
It's
can get
when you-
one thing from any seminar,
Uh-huh.
each seminar you go to, if just one thing that you can take home with you and say, I learned one thing today, it's worth it.
Perfect.
And we've been big believers of that.
Perfect.
We go to all your free classes that you do. And all your
Good,
free
and that's why we
Anytime you
do
sponsor something,
them.
we're there,
That's why we do them, because we want to say thank you to all of our customers, and you're our customers for life. And we always, in fact, I went to the Real Estate Commission a couple of months ago meeting to make a statement in that we wanted appraisal principles, appraisal practices to still be okay for agents to take towards hours to get their broker's license, because so many people don't have enough college hours
Right.
and they depend on that. But my point was, it's so credible. They learn so much. And we're back in business again, where you can take a principles of appraisal, practices of appraisal, and get 30 hours credit towards brokers or towards SAE. But today's market has changed, and that's so smart of you to do that, to take advantage of educational sessions.
Absolutely.
And we went back to a few minutes ago in our discussion about growing your team. So I want you to mention, that comes up so much when I go into classrooms with MCE, and they say, when I just say, well, what questions do you have? I never know what I might hear. Like, can we have real cream in the coffee? And no, we're still going to have the powdered stuff. I'm sorry. But one question, I mean, I get very interesting questions based on the class. When do I know to add to my team? When do I know to bring in a buyer's agent? When do I know that I need a transaction specialist? So how did you know when to add to your team? Struggling and worried about the extra, somebody taking part of your piece of the pie. How did you deal with that?
We do our team a little different than a lot of teams do. A lot of teams have a transaction coordinator, a listing coordinator. We bring on team members and then we help them build their sphere. And as they build their sphere and we help them build their sphere, obviously it grows for the whole team.
For the whole team. For the whole
And
company.
they take it from the very beginning to the very end. So to us, as we go, we do almost all of our business now by referral. Past customers,
You're
people
so
that
lucky.
they refer.
So
when
worked
we
hard to
I
get
don't work a lot
there.
of weekends anymore, which is great.
Yeah, put in our due diligence on that.
Uh-huh.
But now we, like all the sign calls that we get, we pass on now to
Our team
the
members.
team members, and then they can add that to their sphere and then continue to build it from there. So that's been, good for us as we get to the point to where, well, especially with the office, that Ruben couldn't handle going out, then we would bring on another person so we could not only be able to have someone to pass off some of the referrals to, but also grow the team as well. And then as that got to the point to where they they grew their business up to where we no longer could pass it on as much to them because they were busy with theirs as well, we would bring somebody else on, and we've just continued to grow that way.
That is a great
It's
example.
worked out great for us.
Very
And we don't
good.
have like a contract coordinator, a contract negotiator,
Uh-huh.
an inspection negotiator like a lot of teams do.
Uh-huh.
We handle all of our own files ourselves. So I handle my own listings myself. I negotiate my own contracts. And then if I'm not available, my assistant is licensed. I think the key thing is when you want to grow, the first thing you need to start with is as an assistant that you can get and groom them and work with them. I've had my assistant's been with us, 10 years now, 9 years?
Who's also a sister.
Who's also my sister.
love
And
that.
she's worked with me since high school, and she's now almost
Wow.
30, so she's almost 28, I guess. But she can work an entire file by herself. She can do everything that I can do if I'm not there. That's why we got her license. So if we were on vacation, she could negotiate a contract for me. She could do the things like I would do.
Well, we try to do our whole team that way, to where if I had to step out, they would step in
They can
and
pick
do
up our
it the
file and
same
do it
way
just
we
like
do
us.
it. So we kind of have
You
that.
have your systems in
Right,
place.
correct.
These
Absolutely.
are our systems. Everyone knows the systems. Everybody
Absolutely.
works with the systems. And that allows you to have a life.
Absolutely.
So let's get to the question that I'm sure everybody's wondering. How do you have personal time, business time, and make it work? How do you separate the two? How does it work to be a family in a family business?
It took me a lot of time to figure this out.
I think you
It
have
took me a while.
You have to have time management, and again, you have to schedule. I mean, we're huge. We make family vacations. We put them in a calendar. We try to make them towards the beginning of the year, and we plan them. Then you go in. It's like
Now, why the beginning of the year?
so you can plan around them. I mean,
Okay.
if you
You
start
have to be
your
in control
if
when
you
you do it.
start your business plan at the beginning of the year and you kind of figure out what you want to do, it's like the box that you first put in the boulders, then you put in the pebbles, and then you put in the sand. I mean, if you start with the big things you want to do that year, and you put them, so we would do a family vacation, then we would do one by ourselves.
And it stays on your calendar
Oh,
like
yeah.
every other important item.
Absolutely.
I book it.
We
I
book it.
book it right then and there
She makes
because
me
once
pay
it's
for 'em in
booked and
advance.
paid for,
And she gets
then you're not
non-refundable.
Yes, with no insurance on those.
Yeah, and then because once they're there, then you're not gonna change them. And then
Exactly.
you fill in with, if you've got, with family, as our kids were younger, we fill in the baseball games when as soon as the
I mean, if people wanted us to go to an
schedule came out,
appointment, we'd say, we're booked right then.
we
We didn't say it was a
we
baseball game.
Exactly.
market. You have to learn to run your business and not necessarily let your business run you. Not that we haven't been guilty of that at times, because there are
Well, we
times
all
that
Have those
we have to go
emergencies
slow
where
back.
you have to make a little change and be flexible.
Well, and I think when the market changes, people kind of go into a panic and then they just start running and doing, whatever to get business, and I think that's reflected. I think people can hear, the public can hear when you're frustrated or
They can.
you're,
Oh, yeah.
and then
People
when
can
you
tell
need
when
a
you
vacation.
need a vacation, or
Yeah.
if you're short on funds that month and you're really trying to make a deal,
Right.
you can feel that you're putting pressure on
feel it.
somebody, and
Comes
you have to be
across.
careful with that.
I love being able to walk into the classroom with new people especially and say, I know some of you are wondering if you can actually have a life and be an entrepreneur, be an independent contractor. Because it's like, how do I do this and still have time for the family? And yet, that's really the beauty of real estate, in that my husband and I raised 5 children, and I grew a business to the largest real estate school in Texas. And still, as you said, the girls cheerleading, volleyball, the boys baseball, basketball, they're all appointments
They're all
that
appointments.
you just stick to, and they're as important as anything, and nobody knows the difference.
Right. The other thing too, as a husband and wife, I think that's real important, is you have to make time. Like so when our kids were little, we always had a date night. Every week it was a date night. We had a nanny, or we had a babysitter, or we had whatever at the house that night, because we had a date night that night, and we never canceled date night. I mean, we would really try to do our date, and we still. I know now we have date night every night because our kids are grown, but
Right.
it's,
Isn't it nice?
it's a little different
But
now.
sad.
Now the kids are like, "You're where?" But now,
Again?
we
Exactly.
you have to plan that stuff. Yeah, and we always planned a family trip, whether it was just going to Galveston or Schlitterbahn or whatever.
Right.
We did a lot of cruises when the kids were growing up, because that was great for them and it was great for us. But we always planned a family vacation, and we always planned a personal vacation,
And
to
what
where the
does
two
that
of us
do
were by
for you?
ourselves.
What does that do
I think
for
it just
you, the
strengthens
personal time?
it strengthens your relationship, number
Rejuvenates you.
one, but it rejuvenates you being that we're both business owners and we own our own business, it rejuvenates you. You have to have a vacation. You have to have, and it doesn't have to be a big vacation. It can be.
It
I mean,
can
we would go to
be
San
a
Antonio
fishing
at the
trip
beginning. We'd
down
go,
at
we'd go to
Rockport.
Matagorda. We'd go to Padre Island and things like
When
that.
when we go on vacation, we obviously we have to keep up with some business while we're there. But then when we don't want to discuss business.
Right.
I laugh because people go, "Oh, we can go look at houses," and I'm like, "No, I don't want to go
No.
look at houses."
I would go look at houses everywhere I go.
Yeah, he would. I want to. That's my way of being able to kind of get back the following
Exactly.
time and say, "Okay, this is still good to
Exactly.
go."
My daughter and I are obviously in business together,
Right.
family business. Kimberly will actually be celebrating 19 years
Wow.
with Champion School of Real Estate in
That's
August.
Oh,
awesome.
that's awesome.
After she graduated from Louisiana Tech, she came home and said, okay, I'm now ready to start at Champion School of Real Estate. And it's been a very wonderful journey. I can say that somehow early on, without thinking about it, we didn't even discuss it, but it was like during the day, it's business. At the end of the day, even when I'm driving home at the end of the day and she's driving home, if we're on the phone, it's totally mother-daughter.
That's neat.
And regularly people say, well, how does that work? And just as you said, unless we're on a seminar, getaway, educational type program where our goal is to learn more for the company,
Right.
it's mother-daughter, personal time.
Yeah.
So with your sister, you have your sister in the company now.
Yeah, my
Do you have
sister.
any other family members in the company?
Well, my dad worked with us before he
Right,
passed
I
away.
know.
He was
Uh-huh.
there 6 years. And then after he passed away, my mother actually got her license, and she worked with us for about 5 or 6 years.
She just retired last
And she
year.
just retired.
And she retired. So if anybody's really looking for advice on how to make a family business work, the Villarreals can certainly help you with that. So let's talk about a brand new agent. Knowing that they come in from another career, as you did, as I always tell our wonderful new agents in the classroom, nobody really kind of went through elementary, middle, high school and said, when I grow up, I want to be a real estate agent.
Right.
Correct.
We always come from other walks of life. So those people that walk in the door are typically a little nervous, and rightfully so. They're really wondering, can I make the transition from being a salaried 8 to 5, showing up at a certain time, leaving at a certain time, into being in control of my own hours. So how do you and Nancy work that as far as being an independent contractor? And what advice would you give a new person starting into the business?
When I interview new agents coming into our office or people making career changes or even if from other offices, it doesn't matter. I always tell them, start with the basic, make your list of everybody you know. Who's your sphere? Know your sphere. Know your who, know your why.
Now when you say know your who, know your why, we know the who, what's the why?
Why do you want to get into real estate? What are your goals? You want to make $100,000, why? You know, what are you going to do with the $100,000? Are you wanting to go on vacation? Are you wanting to buy a new car? I mean, you have to kind of know why you're doing what you're doing.
What their motivating
What's your
factor
motivation?
is.
Exactly. And then get your sphere, because there's nothing better than getting a phone call saying, hey, I want to list my house, instead of getting from a friend than getting it from somebody that you've got to go work harder to get one from. And it's just, I believe you just got to start down. You have to start somewhere. And it kind of takes some of that fear away if you have a process to help them through, saying, okay, here's step one. Because they walk in the door, they now have their license, and you give them a desk and a chair, and they have to figure out how to get the phone to ring or what to do next.
So I'm going to throw out a question that I know your new people have asked you. It's the overriding question from a new person. You're at your first listing. The seller says, how long have you been in the business? And the truth is, you got your license yesterday. How do you counsel your new agents to answer that question?
What I tell them, I mean, what I did at the beginning was I was in sales. I would say, well, I've been in sales for 6 years or 7 years, and I just skipped right over the question. And most of the time that worked. If you've been in sales of some sort, you know, you can say I've been in sales all my life, or I've been in sales since I was out of high school or college or whatever. So you could overcome it with that, you know, because you've been in sales. If you've been in sales, if you've never been in sales, you could say, well, I'm pretty new in the business, but you don't have to say how long.
Right.
But I'm pretty new in the business, but I've got a great team that's going to back me up. I've got an awesome broker, I've got an awesome manager, and they're going to back me up. They're going to help me with this whole process. And the great thing is, all these other people might have 10 or 12 people to deal with. I've got you.
There you go.
So, you know, and you start with that and work your way,
Do you want to be, you know, a fish in a big sea, or do you want to be a fish by yourself? Because make them feel important. That's, you know, you have
Make
to
them
overcome
feel
one hurdle with, you know, make them, if, you know, which is a true statement. I mean, people that are swamped
It is a
with
true
business,
statement.
everyone's busy. When you're only listing and that's your only customer,
Because
you're going to stay
very
on top of
busy
it.
agents, as I'm sure both
Right.
of you know, some of the negative you get is, I think you're too busy for me.
Right. They don't follow up, or they don't call them back, or
Right.
whatever. You'd be amazed. I mean, I used to, at the beginning, you would lose, you know, that was the worst thing you would think would be to lose a listing to a big producer or something. And that was like how I would learn. And I would call them back afterwards, and I'm just curious, you know, I know you chose this person. Why did you choose them over me? And I want to know.
Wow, that took a lot
That's a
of
hard
courage.
phone call to make, but I did it all the time at the beginning. And now I really do it. If I lose, I want to know why.
I was going to say, you
Yeah, it's
still
really-
find out and ask if there's for some reason.
So, for a number of people watching that are fairly new in the business, probably at home having their cup of coffee and eating their cereal, you did have failures, Ruben?
Absolutely.
Starting out?
Still today, I have failures. And still today, we have failures.
Because so many new people it's like, what's wrong with me? Why am I failing? Why is this not working for me?
Failure makes you better in my eyes, I think.
It does,
When
and you learn from it.
You learn from I learn from my mistakes, and we both do.
So to sort of recap those great statements that Nancy and Ruben made, he said, well, I was in sales, so I talk about my experience in sales. And then he goes on to talk about the team. We have a huge team, or a wonderful, very knowledgeable team in our office, and they're there to help you and support you. It's not just me, it's a whole team of whatever,
Right.
5 people, 10 people,
Right.
15 people. And it's about you. And then going back to the seller and keeping that conversation focused on the seller. And bottom line is, people just want to know that you really are interested in helping them.
Right.
And then going back into your listing that you had prepared so that that conversation keeps going, that it's not about me, it's about you.
Right.
And let me help you
Like
sell
the
that
old
house.
Floyd Whitman, which we still use and you'll see on a lot, is that people
You're
don't.
aging yourself.
Right. We're
And
aging ourselves.
people don't care what you
But
know
I
until
know.
they know that you care.
Right. Never
Exactly.
mind. So
And
that's
I
what you're
believe that's a
saying.
very true statement. I mean,
I want you to repeat that statement because I interrupted you.
people don't care what you know until they know that you
That
care.
you care.
That's a big
And
deal. That was how we
it is.
kind of got our business going
When
at the
we
beginning.
got started, that's how we were taught. You go on a listing, and I mean, we've all been brand new. And you walk in and you're nervous, and you know, how do you get past that nervous jitters? And it was, find something when you work, show me the house. Put your stuff down on the kitchen table and walk the house where they're comfortable in their zone. And there's always something you have in common, either children or baseball or something, and kind of take them to that safe island and start a conversation and relax the entire, sales pitch, if you want to call it that, to where you find a common denominator, and it's much easier to sit down and talk to somebody than it is to walk in and just sit down and talk about something that
Yourself.
they don't.
Right.
Exactly. They don't really care if you're a top producing number one, make however much money. They want to know what you're going to do for them.
Right.
What are you going to do to help me sell this house?
Right.
That's why you're here today.
Absolutely.
And I want to know what you're going to do for me. So I love it in that, again, Nancy's talking about the basics, and the basics work. Whenever people are looking for that new idea, that silver bullet that's going to take them to the top, it's really doing the basics and doing them constantly, and remembering that you've got to look around the house, find something you have in common, start that conversation, let them get to know you're just a nice person, which you are, and then keep it moving back to them.
Right.
There's no hidden secret, and we tell this in our office. I mean, Ruben and I will sit down with any of our agents and do a mock listing presentation. I'll pull out we don't
So
use the book
beneficial.
anymore. It's now all technology,
It's all
but
iPad.
I mean, we do actually still carry a book, because you do have, the generation that doesn't want to see it all on an iPad. They want to be able
Exactly.
to look at it, touch it, feel it, see it.
Have the agent leave it there, they can review
Right.
it, go through it, and then it gives the agent the opportunity to go back and have a follow-up visit to pick the book
Well,
or
we
the
all do the same
CD
thing,
back up.
and that's what I tell everybody is there's no magic to real estate. It's all in relationship building. So I can sit down and do my exact presentation and share it, but it's how you're going to do it and the personal touches that you're going to add.
And how you connect with that
We all do
personality.
the exact same thing. You take a buyer, you find them a house, you write a contract, you get the loan processed, and you go to closing. I mean, we all have the exact same steps we have to take. So it's just being able to build the relationship with people that they're going to trust you to see them through those steps.
And I hope, again, everybody got that takeaway on building that relationship of trust.
Right.
And that they believe in you, and that they can see that you're an ethical, professional individual.
Well, and that's a lie. I mean, you've got a lot of, I find, and we've discussed, newer agents, and not even just newer. If somebody will ask them a question and they come up with an answer. And I
Right.
always tell people, you're better off saying, I'm not sure, but let me get back with you on that. And people appreciate that. People
They
appreciate
do, because
honesty.
they can tell that you're just making something up on
Absolutely.
the spur of the moment.
Absolutely.
And you really don't know, so then they're thinking, well, what else are they making up from this presentation?
Right.
That they really didn't
Right.
do their homework.
And if you're honest with them, they believe at that point, well, they were honest enough to tell me they didn't know. And if you present it right, it does, I mean, a lot of people say, well, I don't want to tell them I don't know. But the honesty on it, I mean, we don't all know every question. I mean, you can't teach somebody the questions that people are going to ask you
You can't.
when you get out there. So,
Right.
and
You
if
just
you
have
don't
to.
know
There's
them
gonna
all,
be things
that's
you don't know
okay.
the answer
The experience, right.
to. Right.
Is there any part of the real estate career or transaction or workaday world that is most difficult or more difficult for either of you that you have found has changed so much?
Appraisals.
Yes.
Appraisals has been one of our issues. As you know, we went through that time where getting a loan was really a big change, because in the old days it was so easy to get a loan.
Right.
Nowadays it's a lot
no
more
approval
difficult.
assumptions. Or,
Back in, we're really giving our
Good
time away,
days.
but I used to write no approval assumptions on the hood of the car, which is when we got in the business, that
I
was what
remember
was
it
normal.
well. It was very common.
It was very common. So, things do change. I would say our biggest challenges now are probably getting your client to understand how important it is to choose a good lender and to choose a good, choose a good lender so that you have a little bit of control over the process. If they just use this,
Do you give your
online lenders and things like that, it's hard. I give them a list, and
I was gonna say.
I try to get them to choose it. But a lot of these young people, they're all about the internet, and they all shop the rates on the internet, and they think that's only the rate. And then when it gets down to the last day of closing, it doesn't happen.
There's some surprises.
So I try to educate them on that kind of stuff. That's probably our biggest challenge, I would think, is getting them to get through the lending process properly.
Good. And then is that part of your role, Nancy's, or as you said, you sort of separate your roles in that?
when we were doing, I do a lot now with the office, but even with our team now is, if it's your buyer, you take it from beginning to end.
Okay.
So, and if it's our seller, we take it from beginning to end. So and I think that comes with the trust. If you build trust with somebody, then when you say, look, I've got 2 or 3 lenders that have done a great job for me.
They'll listen.
And they'll trust you. And then it makes your whole transaction so much easier, because it's easier for us if we know the lender, and people want to shy away. They don't want you to know their personal business, but you educate them up front with, we don't care about that part. We just want to make sure that we know you're in good hands, because you don't want to get to the closing table and everything fall apart, because
exactly.
it'll be our
for
fault.
another
Before
2
it's over,
weeks.
it's always
Right.
your fault. I mean, it comes back.
That's why it's always good to give your list of preferred service providers, whomever they are.
Right.
And these are people, as you said, that are tried and true. And you're not going to refer one person, but here's a list with 3 or 4 names. And the goal for everyone is to get through the closing and to funding. And this is the pathway that will make it the least
easiest.
stressful. Right. So, on a personal basis or on a professional basis, what are you most proud of in your 20-plus career in real estate? And that's just a spur-of-the-moment question that you may have needed to think about.
30 years of marriage.
That's a good one.
30 years of marriage and working together for this long.
Keep a relationship as long as we have, and still build. I mean, we're very proud of being able to build the team we've built. And
tell us the name of your team members.
Beth Perk, Andre Ward, Danya Simmons, Ray Humphrey, Robin Webster, and then Ashley Sylvie, which is
My
his
personal
sister.
assistant.
Wonderful. Perfect. Well, I just wanted you to be able to give a shout out to them because
I
I know they want to see you today. What about you? Well, you said 30 years of marriage.
30 years of marriage.
Okay. Is
Keeping
there
a
anything
relationship
else that
strong.
comes to mind? Keep it, yeah.
I mean, I think
And
that
that's
I'm proud that
very-
we've raised, 2 good kids, 2 great kids. They are living on their own, taking care of themselves, and both in sales. And then, I'm just proud of the business we've grown. I'm proud of our office. We've grown a great office. We've never been big at. We actually, when we opened our office 10 years ago, we're getting ready to celebrate our 10-year anniversary. We were going to keep it at 20 to 30 agents, and it grew to 80 agents at this point. And that's all just from our agents growing it for us. The longevity of our agents in our office has been great. So we're proud of that. But I think most of all, I'm proud of the fact that we've consistently been able to maintain a good business, even through the tough times.
Good
We've always
reputation.
found things that we had to do or make changes when the business changed. And I think you have to do that as a business owner, no matter what, whether you're in oil and gas or whether you're in in home sales. When the market changes, you have to change with the market.
Exactly.
And we both were great at
and
doing
know
that.
that market is going to change.
And it does. I mean, I've been in the business 27 years now, so it in 27 years we've seen it up and down and up and down, and it is
But your basics are
Which
still your
is-
basics.
Which is great news for new people, because those that just maybe came into it right after the market started back up again
Right.
in 2014, they're like, oh my goodness, I hope that never happens to me. And the truth is, it is going
it's
to
gonna
happen
happen.
to you.
It's gonna happen.
And I've gone through 3 cycles with my
Right.
business.
I believe it.
And that gives you such wonderful faith that when the cycle goes down, be prudent, be careful, be conservative,
Right.
but the market will come back up, and that allows you to sleep at night. And then Nancy had an add-on to that I don't want them to miss. You said, and stick to the basics.
Yeah, stick with the basics. And I mean, those basics have never changed.
Never.
From day one till today is build relationships, be trustworthy, be honest, and keep a good reputation. I mean, to us it is an honor that you asked us to come here today. Or our agents were going to builders and say, oh, we know them, they're great people. Because that is continuously out there to continue to build your business and be able, we all know there are people that other people don't want to work with, that they don't enjoy. It wasn't a pleasant
And
transaction.
you have to talk positively about your own industry
Oh, absolutely.
and the business you're in.
Right.
And whether being shocking on social media is what you're going for, and you use your own industry to get there, that's not a good use of social media.
Right.
It's be positive about the career you've chosen. We are professionals, and most definitely, I wanted you to be here today because having seen you grow your business, you both, it's really obvious to all of our students and friends that are watching today, which are over 300 by the
Wow.
way, such really fine people that represent our
Thank you.
industry so well, and very ethical, very kind, very
Appreciate it.
giving, and it's my pleasure to have you both here today.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
And I want to follow that up with just a little gift I'm just going to hand over to both of you for
Awesome.
being here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And I want to just say to our wonderful students and our friends that are watching on our Champions Live broadcast that this is another way of giving back to you on an ongoing basis. We want to give you an industry update, let you know what's happening with appraisal, what's happening
Exactly.
with lending, what's happening as far as the number of people moving into Texas, moving out of Texas. So we have our free industry updates, we have our wonderful interviews. More importantly, on an ongoing basis, we have the best teachers ever and courses for everything from artificial intelligence with CE to accredited buyer rep to the seller's rep to new home construction. And the list goes on and on and on. So look at our new calendar. Our next semester calendar will be out the middle of July. We have a lot of live broadcast courses. All you need is the link in order to tune in. And we have live broadcast for real estate, loan, appraisal, business etiquette, and soon to be inspection. But we have our designation courses that are national designation courses as well via live broadcast. And then those of you sitting in the classroom today, that's actually the best way to learn anything. You're in the classroom with a student, you can ask questions, you get good, wonderful answers, And again, brick and mortar, live broadcast, or our wonderful Champions online, whatever works for you, that's what Champions School of Real Estate is all about. So thank you for your business. Thank you, friends, students, for tuning in today. And again, to Ruben and Nancy Villarreal,
Thank you.
Remax
Thank you.
Integrity,
We appreciate it.
top teams in
Thank you.
Houston, Texas. Congratulations,
Thank
and
you.
thanks for being here today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.